Wait no longer, greatness has arrived. Welcome to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. I am your host, Joseph, and it is here on this very podcast each and every Thursday. Me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host, whoever is, whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm very excited. Comic-Con's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which I'll talk about later, what I might be able to get to play.
Ooh.
I'm very, very excited. Very shocking. PlayStation's actually at Comic-Con for the first time in such a very long time, so I'm stoked.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I am, if you guys haven't heard or noticed already, I have a sinus infection. It's getting awful. It's literally 2 days before my birthday. I shouldn't have a sinus infection 2 days before it should be illegal. So you're gonna hear me maybe cough and maybe blow my nose if I didn't find the right edit.
The amount of times I've come on here sick and coughing, you're allowed one.
All right, that's good. You know what? That is fair. That is fair. So with that, we have a very, very special guest with us tonight, and that is Mr. Steve Tilley. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Joe? How are you, Kyle? I am super stoked to be here.
Man. Okay, so here's the deal, Steve. I late one night I get a message from our good friend Sean Capri, and he's just like, I may know someone who has played The Last of Us Part 2. You need to be on. He needs to be on your show, and I was just like, yes, but I'm nervous because he gave me the laundry list of stuff that you have been a part of, and are doing right now. And I was like, well, I'm a nobody. Steve's just gonna toss me out. He's gonna spit on me. Do I
have an amazing podcast with the amazing Kyle? No, I have nothing.
What do you have, Steve? What do you do? Why should our audience get pumped?
You know, my parents ask me that all the time. No, I've been writing about video games and talking about video games for probably, I don't want to date myself, but probably like 20 years now.
Ooh.
Like the first time I got paid to write something about a video game would have been like around 1999. Wow. So yeah, 20 years. And I was formerly a newspaper journalist. I worked as a news reporter. I worked as an entertainment reporter. I worked as a tech reporter. And I kind of pulled all those things together while I was working as an entertainment reporter at the Toronto Sun here in beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Ooh.
And made gaming part of our entertainment coverage. And I always thought it was kind of cool that a major mainstream newspaper was treating games on the same level as like movies and TV shows. Like we would have section covers about games, and just really cool to see games treated seriously. So that's what I was doing. I was also on a TV show called Reviews on the Run, which is how I met the beautiful Sean Capri and his beautiful wife.
They are beautiful. Let's just stop.
They are beautiful. They're just great people, and they are like physically beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
well, Sean, I could stare at I have several pictures of him, and I just stare at him. Yeah.
He's got the dreamiest eyes.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So nowadays, what I mostly do is some game content writing for a very large, well-known tech company that I technically can't contractually mention.
Okay,
on
that's
the
fine.
Podcast. You know what it is. And I do game consulting as well. So with that, companies will come and bring me early versions of their games. I play them and I say, here's what critics are going to say, because I kind of have been in the mind of a critic for so many years. So,
that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Well,
do you remember that first game you wrote about, Steve?
Yeah, that's a good.
One of the first games I wrote about was for the Electric Playground website, which I ironically would go on to work for one of their TV shows many years later. It was Samba de Amigo for the Dreamcast.
Oh, nice. Okay, I remember that
game. So that was like late 90s, early 2000s. There was probably some stuff before. That's when I was so proud of that review. Awesome. And then I went on from there, and I did a whole bunch of freelance work for Official Xbox Magazine and PlayStation, the official magazine, not Official PlayStation Magazine.
Yeah.
PlayStation,
completely different.
And yeah, man, I've just been bouncing all around. It's been kind of a good career. I got no complaints.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, listen, we have a monumental episode because we only have 3 stories to talk about this week, but they're all humongous. We have Shawn Layden departing PlayStation. We have PlayStation Now getting a price reduction cut in half. And then
you can listen to Kratos yelling "boy" on a PC now.
Right? And we're going to have PS4 crossplay. It's been enabled. But before we get into all of that, there's a little segment we like to have called What You've Been Playing. Now, Steve, I'll leave yours to the very end. I got a question for you, though, Kyle.
Yeah.
What have you been playing, my friend?
So, a bunch of Borderlands, and as of 2 hours ago of this recording, I have completed the main story of Borderlands 3.
Same here.
I enjoyed my time.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty good game, besides all the crap that's going on outside of the game, with Gearbox especially. But, like, I enjoyed the guns I was getting late game. It still felt great to just shoot and loot and just... I still think the side missions have the strongest stories there, although I did think the main story got stronger towards the end a little bit, for me personally. I liked the little tie-in at the end. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yes.
Another character. I enjoyed that a great deal. And just looking at what the end game looks like, there's a lot of stuff to still do and to entice you to keep going, which I really, really love.
Yeah, I just beat it as well. So, like, as a Borderlands fan that you are you happy with what you got at the end of that story? Are you, like, looking back going, and I'm a little disappointed, there should have been a little bit more, I don't like how some things played out. What were your thoughts as a huge Borderlands fan? I know you are.
Yeah, I think if the villains, Tyreen and Troy, were closer to Handsome Jack levels, I think I would have been a little bit more excited about this ending. But because they were a little bit of on the weaker side of things, I think it was a fine ending.
Yeah.
I think it could have been better if they were written better. But
yeah,
I still loved it. It's fantastic. Although the cheesy song at the end was like
that
really took me out of it. And even some of the cutscenes, like the camera work. I don't know about you, Joe, but it was just all over the place, and it just ruined those scenes.
The things that were taking me out of the story at the end was the fact that, like, these cutscenes happened and your character's not in any of them. It's like, oh, I just defeated this huge boss. Don't worry about anything. Don't show my character what I'm feeling or my character should be feeling. That was a little bit weird. I feel like
it's been a Borderlands thing, though. And two that happened as well.
And I think that just needs to cut it the fuck out.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to, like, the villains, I feel like if they just focused on one and not two of them, I think it would have been a lot better. Because Troy really annoyed me. He was just an annoying character. Tyreen, towards the end, her character gets built up more. And there's like a twist that I actually didn't see coming. I was like, whoa, this is good writing. When did this happen? No spoilers. But I'm just like, well, all right, cool. I like this. And so
I think if that strong ending in that little section there was spread out just a little bit more, or more of the ecologues that you collected get a little bit more into it, which there are some, if you find them, gets into a little bit more of their backstory, but I think there needed to be more there. They couldn't just keep popping on up and just doing the whole streamer shtick thing.
And it does give you a really good thing when it comes to, like, those echoes, because, like, if you want more of the side story and, like, what's really happening, pick those up, because you'll get foreshadows and you'll get some hints along the way and, like, actual character building that, like, makes the game so much better. So, like,
a lot of really cool where the Borderlands 2 characters are at now too, if you pick up certain ones, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I enjoyed my time with it. I thought the gunplay was great. I felt like we could have chopped some of the beats out. We could have we trimmed it down and made it a little bit shorter, a little tighter experience. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it. I plan on going back. I know we just talked before. Yeah. We're gonna platinum this thing.
Yeah, I got 3 trophies left.
Oh my god, I have so much more. I have so many side missions.
But they're hard trophies.
Okay. Okay, good.
They're annoying.
Yeah. With that, though, that's going to wrap up our Borderlands talk. No more Borderlands from here on out. You promise me, Kyle?
Promise.
Okay. With that, Steve, here's where we get to the first big, juicy bit. And now we're going to be talking about your hands-on experience with Last of Us Part 2. You had how many hours? 2.5?
About 2.5. Yeah, close to 3. I was one of the last ones to finish the demo. They're kind of like packing up all around me while I was
that would be me.
because I'm thorough, not necessarily because I'm bad, but I'm just thorough.
No, that's why like I've been contemplating like, oh, should I do like a Last of Us stream? But I am thorough. Like I check everything. And I'm just like, people will be bored.
Exactly.
People will like be like, why is this guy just crouched for like 30 minutes? But yeah, before we get into it, if you guys want to stay blind and you don't want to hear a gosh dang thing about, The Last of Us Part 2, that is fine. I'll put a link in the description where we can skip and talk about all the news stories we got for you this week. But with that, Steve, walking into this, where are you as a Last of Us fan? Are you a newcomer to the series? Have you fell in love with it like so many other people have? Where do you fall?
I'd actually never heard of the game before this. No, I'm just kidding. I finished my third playthrough of The Last of Us this week. Played it on PS3. I actually played it twice on PS3, and then I played the remaster. I actually started the remaster, but somehow I never finished it. I got about 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah.
And then I went back to it this week because I knew I was going to the event. I wanted to refamiliarize myself with the controls and the visuals. So I went back to remastered. And it's like the kind of game you can't just play for half. Like I'm gonna play for half an hour, just like get used to controls again.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. You gotta see what's gonna happen next. I mean, I know what's happening next, but it's a game where
you gotta engross yourself. So you're a big fan. No one completes a game 3 times without actually really liking it.
I've played I played the Left Behind DLC. I've read the comics. I'm all in. All in on The Last of Us.
So you're hyped walking in.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of funny because I don't go to a lot of gaming events these days. I'm so busy with other work. But when Sony reached out and said, "Yo, we can bring down a couple Canadian journalists for this," I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in on this. I'm not in on everything, but I desperately want to go hands on with this game, and I want to talk to the Naughty Dog guys, and I want to like get a sense of what this game's going to be about, because all we've seen so far are the sort of gameplay demo trailer thing from E3 last year, and the other trailers before that.
So here's the difference now. Walking into this, you talk about gameplay demos and whatnot. You're playing as Ellie, right? We're switching the protagonists around. How does it feel playing, first off, someone else? Spoiler alert for The Last of Us, first one, you do play as Ellie for a level, but this is in-depth Ellie. How does Ellie feel as the main protagonist?
Yeah, that's kind of part of the reason I went back to the first game, is because I wanted to replay the Ellie game, and I wanted to replay the DLC, which well. And it's funny how, even though you're playing the same character, they've really made Ellie, like Ellie in The Last of Us Part 1, still feels a lot like Joel. Like, she's got a few unique quirks.
Yeah.
But Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2, she's definitely more, she's faster. She's more agile. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like you're like speeding around. Like, it's not twitchy. It's still very much the deliberate kind of slow-paced gameplay. Right. But you feel like you're playing a younger character. You feel like you're playing a character who has got more like kind of like physical energy than Joel did. Not to take anything away from Joel. I mean,
she's a bit more spry, right?
Exactly. She's young. She's like 19. She's a spry gal.
So how does the gameplay options, does the control scheme still feel like a little bit like overly complex? Like, are we struggling to create a Molotov mid-fight, or have they kind of nailed that down as to like how you navigate and fight people?
Yeah, that was kind of one of my big questions, was, were they going to totally redo the control scheme? And people will be either happy or sad to know the controls are virtually identical to the first game. Good. The only new things are, if you tap the sprint button, which is L1, I think by default, it's a dodge move, which is really opens up hand-to-hand combat. Like, hand-to-hand combat is actually a viable option in this game. It's not like a kind of a last resort. It's not sort of something you have to do from a stealth position. If you catch somebody one-on-one, hand-to-hand, you have a chance. If you've got a melee weapon, you've got a good chance of beating them, because you can dodge their attacks and swing as a counter. And it really opens up kind of hand-to-hand stuff. So there's
talking about the dodge mechanic, the hand-to-hand, she has a little knife, right? She has a switchblade.
Yeah, shivs are gone from the game.
That's what I was going to say.
No more crafting shivs. Yeah, no more crafting shivs. There are still locked doors, but instead of crafting a shiv to unlock the door, there's usually like a kind of a puzzly way to get around. Like, there's some kind of other entrance into that room you got to discover, rather than saying, "Oh, I hope I have a shiv on hand to break this lock." Yeah. So yeah, she's always got a switchblade. She's always got a kind of a last resort weapon. And you're still picking up a lot of melee weapons. You're picking up baseball bats and hatchets and whatnot. Right. But if you're like left with nothing else and you got to fight somebody, she's always got to switch.
Does it feel like Uncharted 4 kind of hand-to-hand stuff?
Not quite that sort of fluid. Like it's still like there's still very much a Last of Us game. Like they haven't ramped it up. They haven't really sped it up.
Yeah.
It feels like the same gameplay with some refinement. So people, I don't know if anybody was really hoping for this, but for people who were hoping for a reinvention of the controls or like a reinvention of the gameplay, that's not here. Like even the crafting is almost identical to the first game. You've just got more stuff you can craft, but the way you do it by opening up the backpack or by selecting the thing in the D-pad menu and then crafting it from there, exactly the same. And the inventory, the menu layout on the D-pad, that's all exactly the same as well.
That's good. It's kind of like it's refined. I could get this word, okay? It's not the decongestant medicine getting to me. It's more being more refined, and it's more like an evolution of certain.
Exactly, it's an evolution.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome.
And from the trailer from last year's E3, we saw how Ellie kind of stealths in a different way than Joel does, meaning like she can get lower to the ground and hide under cars and stuff. How does that add to the level of complexity when you have to sneak around in part 2?
It gives you more options. Like in the demo the demo was. First part is called Jackson Patrol, which has got to be, I think, the first playable chapter in the game because it's got all the tutorial stuff baked in. Like here's how you jump over gaps, here's how you crouch. It's all built into the level and stuff that Ellie and Dina are doing as they're out on horseback patrolling kind of the perimeter of their town. Then we also played a chapter in the Seattle suburbs, which is much later on when Joel's brother Tommy is trapped in Seattle. Ellie's looking for him for whatever reason, we don't exactly know. And in that level, it's much more combat focused and a little more open in terms of where you can go and what you can do. And there are tons of opportunities for stealth there. Like there's a lot of tall grass. Tall grass is actually meaningful now in the game because when Ellie goes prone, she's much less visible in the tall grass. So there were many times, there's a ton of human enemies in that level. Dogs, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon as well. Dogs in that level. And you've got more tools at your disposal, but you've got more things you've got to more obstacles in your way that you've got to use those tools to overcome.
Now, a question about the level design. It does feel a little bit more open, and they talk about this being the largest game that they've made. Is this more of a classic linear Naughty Dog experience where, the game's a little wide, maybe a few areas to explore, but it's still a linear, this is your path. Is this more like a hub world or more like the Madagascar map of Uncharted 4 where it's this huge area that you explore? Like, how does the maps feel?
Somewhere in between. The first chapter, the Jackson Patrol chapter, fairly linear. You're kind of being guided from area to area. The Ellie and Dina, and there's like different routes you can take, but they all ultimately kind of end up at the same bottlenecks. You've got to go through this supermarket that's full of infected. You've got to go to the library during the snowstorm when Ellie briefly loses Dina, and they find each other in this library. So you're going to end up at all the same places. There's a few route variants, but the first chapter for sure is very much the linear Naughty Dog type of the gameplay. The second chapter we played, the Seattle suburbs, it's not open world in the sense that like that huge Madagascar level is in Uncharted 4. But you're also not in a Jeep. Right? Like they were in a Jeep in that level, so there was a lot of fast traversal in the game.
Now, I got a question for you when it comes to enemy AI. I'm hearing that these AI are smart and that they actually have emotions. So when you're playing a game like, I don't know, Splinter Cell, and you kill a guard, and like one guard just walks up, he's like, "Where's Gary?" "Oh, I guess I'm back on my patrol."
Exactly.
That doesn't happen here, right? Like they're actually like, "Fuck where the fuck happened to Gary?"
That's exactly it. It's kind of it's like, for all the refinements and enhancements they made to the game, the thing that really struck me most was the AI. It's much more natural. You don't see that, I'm going to go back on my patrol from A to B, and here's a body. Oh, I'm scared. Okay, back to A and B. It's much more reactive, and which is good in some ways because the more human the AI thinks, the more you're able to predict kind of how they're going to react to things and kind of work against them that way, but they do. Like there's a section in the Seattle suburbs, you're up against the Washington Liberation Front or the Wolves, which you may recall from the trailer at E3 last year. One of the cultists calls a wolf when they see Ellie, probably mistaking her for one of the Washington Liberation Front. They're like a militia group that's super against outsiders. They want nobody in Seattle. So they're looking for Ellie. They're looking for Tommy. Anyway, so you're up against the wolves. So they all have names. So yeah, when you kill one and like you kill Sandra and then Bill comes by, he's like, oh shit, he got Sandra. You know, it's like, where are you? And they get agitated. They start patrolling. And it used to be like you could like safely use silenced weapons from cover and they would have no idea where you were at. But now even if you like fire a bow from cover, they're like, I think it came from over there. And they'll have kind of a general arc of where you are.
Wow.
And you've always got to be moving. And that's where the dogs come in too. Yeah. It's not the kind of game where you can just sit in one place and memorize patrol patterns and pick them off. Because if it was, it would be too easy. The levels are way more open, so it'd be way easier to lure human enemies into kind of blind alleys, especially because you know how they're going to react. Yeah. So you've got to always be moving because they're coming for you. The dogs are coming for you. You've got to always be on the move.
And how do dogs, like when a dog finds you, what happens? Can you outrun them? You
can't outrun them on open ground.
Okay.
The first time you encounter a dog is in the demos in this the Seattle suburbs, and there's like a guy, one of the wolves, and he's got a dog, and the dog catches your scent, and it's like, you know, its ears kind of prick up, it's like woof woof, and you're like, oh shit, you jump over like behind some cover, and then what you do then is up to you. And now in the new version of the listen mode in the game, if there's a dog in the area, it will show your scent trail. It only shows your scent trail when there's a dog in the area. But if there's a dog in the area, it will show your scent trail. It will show if the dog crosses your scent trail, it knows where you are, and it will follow that trail to wherever you are. So you've either got to put a big amount of distance between you and the dog, or throw something in the opposite direction to distract it, which works much the way it does with human enemies. Yeah. Or you got to kill the dog. You know what? I got to say, I can kill people all fucking day long in video games. Yeah. I don't care. Bob, Charlie, you got names. I don't care. I'm going to murder you because it's you or me. Yeah. But the dog didn't ask to be there. The dog didn't sign up for this. It's just doing whatever it's told. Yeah. And I feel terrible about killing dogs in video games. I felt terrible about killing the dogs in this game, but they are such a big threat to your stealth ability. Yeah. You've got to pick off the dogs kind of as soon as you can separate them from their handlers.
And let's talk. Just listen. Sorry, Joe. Just listening to this, I am stressed out. So like, I can't imagine actually being in this and stressed out. But like, is that the humans are obviously a step up from the first game and pretty much any other human AI. Does this affect your way? Like, knowing that they know, you kind of said you don't care, you'll kill humans all day long, but knowing like they know each other's names and like, oh shit, and like they have dogs, is this going to like move you to like a more pacifist route, or you're like not going through and taking everybody out that you can?
Yeah, you know, I joke about it, but it's funny. It's, I don't know how they do this because your interactions are so brief. They're just little flashes. But like the wolves, they don't just feel like evil bad guys. They are fighting for a cause. They are protecting their territory. They're doing it in kind of a shitty way that's really mean to other people. But they're not necessarily bad guys, at least from what I know so far.
Right. They're just doing what they're doing to survive.
Yeah.
Sure.
However, I also think if they see me first, they will kill me, no questions asked. They're not going to give me any kind of mercy. So there were times, and maybe I'm just a psychopath, but there were times when I killed Charlie, and you know, and Betty would come by and say, Charlie's down, they got Charlie. I'd be like, you're fucking right, I got Charlie. You're next, Betty. Get over here. You know, it's you or me.
Yeah. Dude, all right, real talk.
I totally get that.
When the apocalypse happens, we're getting Steve pronto. We're going to Canada. We're getting Steve. He's going to be our fucking leader. All right. He's our,
we'll make our own version of the Wolves up there in Toronto.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, man. That's interesting with the dogs. And you talked about the stealth mechanics. There's like something called like a heartbeat like type of system is in place as well, where like you get to know when people are nearby by their heartbeat or something like that. Am I correct?
I don't know. Like the detection system seemed to be very similar to the first game, and then you get this kind of, it is sort of a, like now that I think of it, it is sort of like kind of a whooshing heart noise, but it gives you the same, like if you play The Last of Us Part 1 and there are enemies nearby that aren't in your field of view, you get that kind of gray tinge on the edge of the screen. I believe, and I don't remember seeing this myself, but I believe they're saying now that if the tinge turns red, that means the enemy spotted you. But it's still very, it's kind of that peripheral red, cool. That kind of tinge that tells you there's somebody you can't see right now, but who can see you. So you've got to, like, you know, or who is is detecting that you're somewhere around there. So you've got to get covered before they spot you.
Now we've talked about humans, we've talked about dogs. Last of Us is known for another kind of enemy.
Oh, is it?
And yeah, it is a little bit. And Zyger, who wrote in, and he asked this question: can you attract clickers to humans in an easier sense than the previous game, or were there any opportunities for that to happen in this?
Yeah, game? in the demo there really weren't. Like I remember, Left Behind DLC, there's a couple moments where you can really use the clickers and the humans against each other. But they kind of naturally fight each other anyway. You just sit back and wait for it. There's no point that I remember. Like in the first part of the demo in the Jackson Patrol chapter, there are no humans. It's just infected. You encounter it in like the grocery store and other places in the level. In the Seattle suburbs, there are infected, but they're kind of isolated from the humans. There's there's a stalker in a garage who I think you can spot in one of the demos or the trailers. And there's a backstory behind how he got there, and it's really kind of like you find it like it's one of those things in the first game when you find documents or notes that you left behind, and it's really interesting to know the backstory about how this particular infected got in this spot. But you walk into the garage, and one thing I got to point out too is there's this new mechanic where you can squeeze through gaps. Because Ellie's skinnier, so there's a lot of gaps in the game where that are just kind of like you shuffle through your shoulder, like you turn your shoulder and kind of shuffle through, and partly it's just to be able to separate you from pursuers because it slows people down, but also it gives the game so many opportunities to have something grab you as you come through
fuck that.
Because you're temporarily not in control. Like it's an animation. You squeeze the gap and your field of view is kind of limited to what gap you're squeezing through. So that happens a lot of times in the game. It's kind of it jumps out and grabs you.
Let's talk about I'm sorry. You have a point?
I was going to say, as you go into the garage, you fight the stalker, and that's the time where I felt so empowered by the dodge system because it was slashing at me. I was like, dodge, hatchet, dodge, hatchet, dodge, hatchet, and it's dead. And it's like they're so dangerous one-on-one in the previous game that you're like, unless you have a really good weapon or guns, you're screwed. But to be able to fight it hand-to-hand was something kind of new and super, super empowering in a way.
Did you run into that new clicker that was in
I did, the big fat shambler.
Yeah.
Call it shambler, or is that
the
last
shambler?
Yeah, it's there's a bar, there's all kinds of business in the Seattle suburbs you pass through. There's a bike shop, there's an antique shop, there's a laundromat, which despite having all these baskets of old moldy clothes around, you get exactly one, like 3/4 of a rag component from. I love it. And then there's a bar where there's some, including this big guy, and I saw that you immediately recognize this is a huge threat, and I didn't even know, I didn't know that he would actually explode in sport cloud to get close. So I just whipped a couple of Molotovs, backed up, and then just started shooting. I had a lot of hunting rifle rounds for whatever reason, so I was conserving my ammo. So I just started plugging in with hunting rifle rounds, and he went down. He went down fairly quickly, but that's just because I said, big, fat, new infected, kill quickly. Prioritize this target.
Yeah. So with that, our last question, this one actually was yours, Kyle. It comes from the animation department. What do you got to ask here?
So, Steve, one of my biggest and probably only gripes from the first game is when you're scavenging, right? And Joel's looking for things, and when he finds a group of things, his arm just spastically goes around and just grabs. It's very weird. I hate it when what happens.
It makes me so happy to hear you say that, because that is really one of my biggest, if not all, gripes about the game as well. Is that the Naughty Dog are the masters of animation, but the scavenging animation, like when Joel kind of crouches down, it looks kind of like a spider monkey, like lashing his arms around trying to grab stuff.
Yeah,
it drove me crazy. It's so immersion breaking. I am happy to report, because I looked for this. I specifically looked for this. I'm happy to report that Ellie's scavenging animations are much more natural.
Thank God.
Things are down low. She kind of crouches and picks them up rather than doing the squat and flail kind of move. So the way she picks stuff up is more natural. Just the way she uses the benches is much more natural. Everything about the animation has been refined to make it look more kind of natural and realistic, and that includes the animation.
So at the end of the day, walking out of that event, do we have ourselves, because like the big conversation at the end of the day is Cyberpunk versus, we always have to compare things, we always have to get things out that. Right. So is this all of a sudden like the game of 2020 contender for you? Was it that revolutionary for you?
You know what, I'm gonna say it was not that revolutionary, but the thing is, the bar set by The Last of Us is so high. Like, it's so high. And that game was something new. Like, we played stealth games before, but we never played this kind of really, this mix of incredible storytelling with cool stealth gameplay. And I think that, like, in the first chapter of the game, the patrol chapter, I was thinking, okay, this feels like The Last of Us. I'm not blown away.
Yeah.
Nothing here is really jumping out at me, except the fact that Ellie and Dina are talking, and there's like a story unfolding between them. I love that. I love the writing. I love the fact that they have Holly Gross, who used to work on Westworld. I love the fact that she's co-writing the game, because you can really hear it in the dialogue. But nothing really jumped out about that first chapter to make me say, oh my God, game of the year. The second chapter, much more so. Like, I going back and playing Last of Us after or before and after this game, I mean, it just, the visuals, especially in the character models, are so much further ahead in the new game. If the storytelling can live up to everything, tension that I felt during stealth, if it can live up to the environmental design, then it's going to be game of the year, if not like one of the top contenders. No, it's hard to tell from like a 2.5, 3 hour demo of what's promising to be like a 25 plus. They're saying it's the longest game ever. So it's hard to tell, but I have a lot of faith that it will be a top contender for game of the year, if not game of the year.
Now, before we move on and we talk about Shawn leaving, both myself and Joe, when we watched that trailer together for the first time, when we heard Joel and we saw Joel, we got goosebumps. Did you get to see Joel in this demo?
Yes. You know what's kind of awesome is the state of play, the actual the demo session for Last of Us Part 2 was going on at the exact same time they were broadcasting State of Play. And Naughty Dog Neil Druckmann came out and said, please don't watch the trailer before you play the demo, because we want the story beats in the demo to be fresh and a surprise. Awesome. So I went into the demo not knowing that Joel shows up in the trailer. I didn't watch the trailer until the day after the demo. So I knew Joel was alive because Ellie and Dina spent a lot talking about him. The first part, the Jackson Patrol chapter, they talk about it. You get a sense that Ellie and Joel's relationship is perhaps a little bit strained, but they are still together. They're going to watch a movie that night. It's some kind of cheesy 80s action movie that and Dina's kind of asking, how are you and Joel? So you know Joel's alive. Yeah. Because there's a lot of theories that Joel might have died in the 5 years.
Yep. That's one of mine for sure.
Yeah. And there's theories too, even that you know, I kind of tried to reverse engineer. I'm thinking, is she actually going to watch a movie with Joel's ashes in an urn? Is this like some super big Naughty Dog fake out and Joel actually dead? And he appears as a vision later on in the game to kind of guide her. I mean, maybe that's the case, but it seems very much like, Joel's there. And I didn't get goosebumps so much as I'm like, oh, Joel, fuck, you got old, man. It's only been 5 years. What happened? I guess like these next gen visuals are really like showing the wrinkles, the gray hairs, and the beard. But nice. I hope that Joel's not a huge part of the story, to be honest. I want this to be really Ellie's story, not Ellie and Joel kind of teaming up again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So from everything we've seen, we've only seen Ellie in game. Joel is involved in gameplay, which I suspect later on. I hope it's kind of like he plays the Ellie role in and out. I hope he's not like a constant part of the game. I want him to be a constant part of the story. I don't want him to be a constant part necessarily of the gameplay.
Okay. Well, man, you got me pumped. I'm on board. Let's do this. But hey, with all that goodness, we got some bad news. Kyle, would you like to read the first goober on the list, sir?
The first goober is written by Johnny Cullen over at GameDaily.biz. Shawn Layden departs Sony amid restructuring confusion and potential power struggle. Shawn Layden, the chairman of Sony Worldwide Studios, is to leave after a 30-plus year career at Sony. The PlayStation Twitter quote, "It is with great emotion that we announce that Worldwide Studios chairman Shawn Layden will be departing SIE. His visionary leadership will be greatly missed. We wish him success in future endeavors and are deeply grateful for his years of service. Thanks for everything, Shawn." End quote. Layden himself hasn't tweeted anything on his own personal Twitter account as of publication. Layden took charge of Sony Interactive Entertainment America in 2014, following the departure of former president and CEO Jack Tretton. In 2016, he became chairman of Sony's Worldwide Studios following the rebranding of Sony Interactive Entertainment. In his time as chairman of Worldwide Studios, Layden has overseen PlayStation's golden period, with multiple Game of the Year winners and nominees, including Marvel's Spider-Man. Layden was the face of the deal that brought Insomniac Games into the Sony first-party studio family, which was finalized in August 2019, and the person who greenlit the project. Layden's departure is just one internal executive shakeup at Sony Interactive Entertainment. SIE Japan Asia president and SIE Japan director Atsushi Morita has departed his roles effective immediately. It's worth noting that Morita was at the age 60, where the Japanese workforce tends to retire anyway. Layden's exit comes at a time of transitional upheaval, and not just with the next-gen PlayStation 5 looming. There's also the possibility of an internal power struggle, which appears to stem from a corporate restructure back in April 2018, which is when Sony Interactive Entertainment truly went global. At that time, Sony announced a reshuffle that saw then PlayStation President John Codera take control of the Americas and Japan Asia. Deputy President Jim Ryan assumed responsibility for Europe. Additionally, all sales and marketing divisions within America, Europe, and Japan Asia were to report to Ryan. Meanwhile, Layden was to concentrate his focus on Worldwide Studios, continuing to provide platform-defining content that helps drive the growth of SIE. Worldwide Studios is regarded as a side project, albeit a significant one, within the bigger picture of SIE management. Ryan and Codera run the bulk of the operation, with Layden's position as chairman created specifically with him in mind. In February, Ryan was announced as the new president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide, less than a year after being named deputy president. Ryan effectively swapped titles with Codera, who was tasked to provide an emphasis on user experiences and network services. It's worth bearing in mind that Codera was only president and CEO for 15 months, having taken over from Andrew House in October 2017.
Mm-hmm. And now, with that, I just checked Twitter. Shawn Layden still hasn't said a peep. He is liking a whole bunch of people going like, best of luck, Shawn, but not said anything. We have a question from Joshua Miller that asks, are you at all concerned about the leadership for Sony going into the PlayStation 5, since the ones that helped the PlayStation 4 succeed, as such as Nick Sutter, Andy House, who I steal his mail on occasion, Jack Tretton, Adam Boyes, and now Shawn would never lie to me, Layden, have moved on. So you talked a lot, Steve. I'm going to let you rest for a sec here. Kyle, I'm going to throw this right back to you, because you gave me pause for concern. You were scared by all this news. Having read all that, are you still concerned?
A little less after reading this article, knowing that that there were other people in place to kind of take over, and his spot was kind of in limbo, but still pretty concerned. I've lived through the PS3 era. I know how bad PlayStation was. It was not great. Right. And seeing them just kill it during this generation of the PS4 and PSVR and RIP Vita, but it's scared that the face that we know, that the public really knows, Shawn Layden, is gone, and it's scary. I don't want to go back to PS3 era Sony. I don't want it, Joe.
Well, listen, I get it. No one wants that. Steve, what do you feel though, man? Like, are you as concerned that he's gonna hit you again? What's the deal here?
I think Sony's been pretty good in I've interviewed Jack a few times. I've interviewed Shawn Layden a few times. Shawn was always really uncomfortable with the public-facing part of the role. Like, he was really awkward on stage at E3. He was kind of awkward in interviews. But I got the sense that he was, he's well-respected and well-liked. I didn't even know there was all this internal shit going on until this story this week. I didn't realize there was all these background shenanigans going on. So, I mean, it's tricky waters right now. Like, they're coming off being the top console of this generation, and that is momentum that they can carry into the PS5 era if they don't fuck it up. And I think having a leadership change right before you're about to kind of introduce the PS5, which is probably going to happen in the next few months, it doesn't send a great signal. It does make concerned about what's going on behind the scenes at Sony that would lead to this kind of shakeup.
I mean, I think we're going to talk about like some of the changes we're seeing already taking place. When I heard this news, I was almost like, I like Shawn. He seems like a great guy, right? He puts on a Crash Bandicoot shirt. He talks like my dad when he's on stage. All fun is had. But at the end of the day, I can only think, listen, 30 years on the job, God knows what his bank account looks like. He's fine. I'm fine. I was almost unmoved by the whole thing because I understood walking in that he effectively, like you read this story, he took a demotion, right? Like he
exactly.
He kind of, it seemed like his position there was out of respect of, listen, you've been here for 30 plus years. We're not going to just oust you. Here's this nice job. It's a pretty title. Work with Shu, and everything's going to be fine, and I don't think he liked that all too much. And so as someone, like, I'm coming through this as we've already had a change of role and a change of guard several times during this generation. The ship, I don't see any holes in it so far, so I'm not too concerned nor panicked. But the interesting thing is, like what you said, I don't know what the fuck's going on in that company. It seems like a lot of people are leaving. Like, gosh, I'm gonna forget her name, but she worked on getting Spider-Man in Insomniac's hands. She's now over at Xbox. We're seeing
John Drake also left, who is a big proponent for PSVR and third-party stuff.
And he's now at Disney. So we're seeing a whole bunch of movement. But the way I see it is, the ship's fine. And if you are in a position like that, you're either going in for building your portfolio even more, you want that challenge, or you are there to excel and get to the top and then stay at the top, right? And that's where I feel Shawn Layden was just like, well, I got this demotion. I only want to make lateral moves, So I think, I think he went somewhere else, and he's not allowed to say where that somewhere else is. Do you get that same feeling, Steve?
I don't know. Like, how old is he? Do we know? Do you know offhand?
Listen, I think he's in his 50s. He looks like a spry looking guy.
He does look spry. Yeah. So I mean, he's got some years left.
58.
58.
Oh, 58.
Okay.
Wow, he's good looking for 58.
Dude, seriously, John. Tall drink of water. Yeah, Jesus Christ, what does he do?
Yeah. But I was just saying that it seems weird that they would change this kind of leadership or have this kind of leadership change going new gen, but also from his perspective, maybe this is the right time. Like, he was the guy kind of ushering PS through its life cycle after Jack, and he did an amazing job apparently. And now he's got this new role that maybe he's not as down with, and this could be a great time to say, kind of quit while you're ahead, like out while you got a lot of chips still in your pocket, rather than going through the whole cycle again with PS5, or shepherding PS5 through its launch and then handing off to somebody else. Maybe this is actually a logical time to kind of make a move like that. But I'm dying to know where he's gone and what he's doing next.
I just love, after hearing he's leaving, someone beat me to the punch on Twitter, but seeing the picture of Shawn and Reggie and Phil at the Game Awards, being like, all right, we're bringing everyone together, and now both of them are gone, and Phil's the last one standing. It's just like, what did you do, Phil? Well, what did you do?
It's all Phil. It's all
man. Phil is the Apex champion at the end of the day. Do you think he's going over to Stadia, Kyle?
I think that's a logical leap in logic there. That made no sense. They used logical too many times.
That's fine. Luke Lord says wireless. Wireless.
Sure.
He sets, with his parchment paper.
Yeah. Why wouldn't he? Really? Yeah. I mean, it's a new thing that he probably can have a lot of really important input for the people over there working on Stadia, and they've got a great team of people that already worked in the industry working on it already. So why not have another one with great experience who's done amazing things in the industry to kind of hop on and help grow it into what probably is the future of gaming.
Yeah. I mean, man, who knows? It's just so much mystery. Again, it doesn't it doesn't freak me out. It doesn't get me nervous. It just gets me perplexed. The only thing I get nervous with is who's going to fill his role. Because the next, like, you know, I don't want PlayStation games to look like Xbox games in terms of, like, you know, we're about to just talk about it, but PlayStation Now just dropped in price to $10. We see, like, Xbox is focused on Game Pass being the future of Xbox and their games being the things that sell them, sell Game Pass, but then those games are often littered with stupid monetization practices, right? Like we're seeing it right now, the whole controversy with Gears of War. So like, I don't want my games to just be filled with microtransactions, multiplayer focus to get people into this PlayStation Now. I want my narrative-driven, narrative-focused single-player games, and that, at the end of the day, is the only thing I truly care about. But before we go on through, anybody got some last words, or shall I continue on to our next bit of news?
I mean, just a quick thank you to Shawn for making E3 super memorable. Some of my favorite gaming moments is him on stage introducing some really cool stuff afterwards, like him with the God of War orchestra coming out afterwards, or the Crash Bandicoot announcement, which was the same year, which is insane. Just like a lot of really cool moments for me that Shawn was a part of. Hearing him talk at PSX when I was there was amazing, and just hearing his mind for the industry, it's fantastic. So thanks, Shawn, for growing PlayStation into what it is now.
Yeah, same. Awesome. He did lead us into a really awesome time to be a PlayStation gamer, and F's in the chat for Shawn. But you know what? Shu had to do what Shu had to do. A soul for a stone. He had to push him off that cliff.
Don't leave us, Shu.
No, don't you dare. You can provide way too many gifts. But with that said, let's get into the next story. Kyle, please take it away, sir.
Sure. Mike Fahey over at Kotaku writes, PlayStation Now price drops to $10 a month and adds new games. Sony cut PlayStation Now's $20 a month subscription fee in half and added a handful of high-profile games like God of War to boot. Along with the new pricing plan, Sony is adding a selection of big-name PS4 games to the service for a limited time, including God of War, Grand Theft Auto 5, Infamous Second Son, and Uncharted 4. These 4 games will be available on the service now through January 2020, and more games will be rotated in and out on a regular basis. From the PlayStation blog themselves, your DualShock 4 will work on iOS 13, iPadOS, macOS Catalina, which is launching in October, and tvOS 13.
Fucking Catalina wine mixer. So I gave it up to a vote on the Trophy Room Twitter about... And this is what I said, and now the cricket's on your end, Kyle. I hear it. Remember last week? You're like,
I'm sorry.
These fucking crickets have
I thought they were gone, and one is hidden somewhere. I don't know where it is.
It's like, you'll never catch me alive, you son of a bitch. He's just taunting you. It's like, I know you have a show to do, you son of a bitch. I'm here.
It's making me mad.
Will you? The question on Twitter was, will you be getting the PlayStation Now? That Sony cut the cost to $9.99 a month. Here's what the poll said, and now I'm just going to say it. 45% a hard no. 41% possibly, maybe. 14% yes. Now, I'm going to roll this into a positive because this is a PlayStation show. How many of those people knew PlayStation Now existed up until this point?
Right.
Exactly. And we got some comments as well. Tim Olf, he said, just paid the $60 for 12 months. Bought time, LOL. So he purchased it. He was good to go. He was hyped off this announcement. Nathan McInerney, which we need to play more Borderlands, sir. He says, I'm more interested in a $60 a year, which is $5 a month. Strongly considering it, although I'm waiting for a version with PlayStation Plus combined. So,
right.
Ooh, God, goodness gracious. Steve, let me get your thoughts on PlayStation Now's price cut. Originally $20, now we're $9.99. God of War, Infamous Second Son, Uncharted 4. Are you on board?
I voted in that poll. I voted in your Twitter.
Yes.
The maybes.
Okay.
Because the games that they're announced right now are amazing. I've played all those games. I've finished games,
Yeah.
right? So I think for avid PlayStation gamers, that's not necessarily a grab.
Yeah. And at this point, who doesn't own GTA 5?
Right? Exactly.
Dude, it's always the number one seller. It's always the number one seller.
It's the online bullshit, though. Like, you want to talk about online money?
Yeah.
Sure.
You're awful poster child for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a necessity because they're competing with Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass. Like, I honestly, it's a whole separate topic. I don't know how Game Pass works as a business model. I don't know.
Right.
Like Joe, you're talking about the kind of creeping monetization. Yeah, it's true. We are seeing more of that, but I do subscribe to Game Pass, and it's like, why would I pay, 80 of my Canadian dollars or whatever, $18, whatever it costs in the US? Why would I pay my hard-earned Canadian money to buy Gears 5 when I can just subscribe to Game Pass for a couple months and play it there? Like, I don't understand how.
I don't either.
It's a good business model to release your highest profile games on this relatively inexpensive subscription service. But like, Sony's got to get in. They got to get a hand in this game because the xCloud game stuff's coming. Stadia's coming. Sony's got to kind of, PS Now has been out there for years and it works surprisingly well. The streaming stuff works well. I always go for the download option if that's an option, but the streaming stuff works shockingly well on PS Now. Joe, like you're saying, I don't think people even know about it. I don't think people have even heard about it before this price drop. So price drop is a necessity. I think it's a good idea. I would like to see the commenter said, I would like to see this wrapped in with their with PlayStation Plus, kind of like a combo service like the Xbox is doing with
like Game Pass Ultimate.
Game Pass.
Yeah,
exactly.
So do you feel like that's happening soon, or do you think?
Dude, as we're going to talk about shortly, Sony sometimes gets dragged kicking and screaming into the place where the other people are, like as we're going to talk about with crossplay.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's in the future, but I don't see it happening right away. They're going to kind of test the waters with this $10 a month subscription, which is a great deal. Like the guys are saying, it's a great deal if you buy the annual pass. Like it's like $6 something a month.
Yeah.
I think they're going to test the waters with that, and maybe around the PS5 launch, we'll see some kind of combined service deal.
I got the same question for you then, Kyle. Are you getting this? Are you planning on it? Maybe, sort of.
I'm in the maybe as well. Kind of want to see if it gets moved into PS Plus, if there's some sort of bundle there.
Right.
Because one, like, money's always an issue, so why would I pay extra money on top for... like you said, Steve, I have all those games physically on my shelf behind me, and I played all through them. So this doesn't really entice me to go and play this. What would immediately shut up, Cricket?
I just heard the cricket this time.
God, it's annoying me so much. 2 weeks like this. What would make me move from a maybe to a yes is just give me the PlayStation Classics, man. Make PS Now the PS2, PS1. Put some PS3 games on there. I will take all my money and pay for 5 years of it right up front.
So Famous Seamus writes in, which by the way, Steve, if you don't know, he's the most famous Seamus I've ever met in my entire life. You could write that down. He says,
heard him.
So with the PlayStation Now price cut, making it the same price as Xbox Game Pass, how do you convince people who can't afford to get both to get PlayStation Now over Game Pass? Dude, I think that's a terrific way of getting people over.
PlayStation has a terrific library.
Oh my God.
And what a way to get them to come out. All these people that bought PS4 and that's the first PlayStation. Hey, look at our history, our lineage of what makes PlayStation.
And then they play it and they're like, fucking Apex
We're good
game?
now. Yeah, exactly.
But no, like, people freaked out. Look at Nintendo Online, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy, he's Nintendo Online's the last kid that gets picked for kickball, right? Can't run, stubby little legs. That kid's going fucking nowhere in the kickball profession. But like, he just goes, "Hey, I got Super Mario World. Everybody's re-upping, right? We got a SNES Online Classic. We got 20 games, 5 of which you're gonna play. One of them maybe for more than 15 minutes. But you buy it because." Damn classics. I think that's a terrific move. Steve, what do you think? What is that thing that will be like if you're on the fence or you already have both? What's that thing that'll push you?
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo fans are a different breed. You can't really compare them to because they will They will buy the same game, the same system 15 times over.
Yeah, they're just like what Alfred said in The Dark Knight. Some people can't be bought, bullied, or reasoned with. Some people just want to buy the same game over and over and over and over again.
Like I think what Sony really needs to do is like the cricket agrees with me.
Yeah.
I think what Sony needs to do really hammer this, get this out there, market the shit out of this, push this in front of people because again. PS Now has been out there for ages and it's worked great for ages. And nobody, I don't know anybody besides me and my buddy Joe, my other buddy Joe, who introduced it to me and said it works great. I don't know anybody who even knows it exists.
Yeah.
They've really got to tart it up, put it in some nice clothes and put it on the stage and shine a spotlight on it and get people invested because there are some great games in the library. There are some great games being offered with this introductory thing. And there's going to be hopefully great games every month. I still think, and you guys are going to crucify me for saying this, I still think Game Pass is the better deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Getting more bang for the buck with Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass. But I think Sony can definitely make a PlayStation exclusive analog to it. And bringing these particular games in is a pretty good way to start.
You know what I think? I think that Cricket bought 2 years of Nintendo Online.
He's so mad about it, too. I thought I was going to be able to play Kart with my friends and have voice chat.
Hey, can you play Punch-Out on the PlayStation? I don't think so, pal.
He's like the newsboy reading headlines, out on the street.
Yep.
Read all about it. You suck.
3 nerds on the internet talk shit about Nintendo. With that, let's get back. Let's get back on this train here. Game Pass is still the better bargain because you're getting their first party games day in date, and PlayStation can't do that because of the type of games that they're putting out, single player focus. And to me, I'm of the mind of it's cool that Game Pass is there and it exists. I love Gears 5, think it's great, but those games are a different type of game. And I'm fine with those games. I don't want PlayStation going, you know what? God of War has multiplayer again. I don't want that. I don't want that whatsoever. Just shoehorned multiplayer experiences. I want experiences that truly matter. What I would like is to have games like Ready, Set, Heroes or games like Concrete Genie or Medieval. These lower tiered games be maybe day and date with the PlayStation
that's a great idea.
Lineup because these games don't get enough love. Where first off, where was this at the state of play? Yeah,
it's weird. Maybe they didn't want to pull focus away. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
This announcement a week later,
Yeah, because I'm nothing's going to pull. Maybe that's just the fact of Last of Us is going to pull from this announcement, but
that could be. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like what they're going to do with this is they're going to Cinderella this bitch, put some glass slippers on it, just put it out on stage with the PlayStation 5 reveal. There's going to have some type of functionality. Let's just hope. Praise be the shoe that this is the case. It gets some PlayStation 1 classics in there to sell this thing day and date. And that's what they're going to do with it. But with that, Kyle, let's get to our last story on the list. And holy crap, I just looked at the time. We've been talking for this long?
We've run a little over time.
I was concerned. I was concerned about time. Kyle, what is the last story?
Steve Tilley at Push Square writes, Sony's PS4 crossplay program has reportedly moved out of beta. Last year, the company announced a major policy change with regards to crossplay, stating it would be trialing the service in beta form with Fortnite. Over the last 12 months or so, this beta has remained in place as far as we know, and a handful of other games have been allowed to bring crossplay to PS4. Mm-hmm. Now it seems that Sony's beta stage of crossplay is officially over. A new report from Wired says PS4's crossplay beta has come to an end. While it's not announcing the news explicitly, the PS4's crossplay efforts have officially moved out of the beta stage, meaning that the console can support crossplay and any titles that studios provide the functionality for. It reads, quote, "This month's Call of Duty Modern Warfare may be the first major title to take advantage of it at launch, and likely won't be the last," end quote. So after an extensive beta, it sounds like crossplay is now all systems go on PS4. This quote, no, you want to do this, Joe, or you want me to do this?
No, you do.
Okay. This quote out of the Wired article from Jim Ryan, quote, The track record of the incumbent platform winning the next time around is not a great one, Jim Ryan says. So the major thrust of my executive energy is to avoid complacency.
I love that.
Yeah. So this is why I'm not too concerned, right? And it's weird. It's not getting, Sony's not putting it on the blog that crossplay is coming or has arrived on the PlayStation 4 platform. It's out of beta. Now it looks like, starting with Call of Duty, all games going forward will have the option of having crossplay integration with it. But this quote from Jim Ryan has me not too concerned about PlayStation going in the future, saying, the track record of an incumbent platform winning the next time around is not a great one. I love Phil Spencer, and I like the Kumbaya stuff. But what I really do love a lot more is someone really saying, putting like the line in the sand, going, it's about winning. We want to be number one again. All right, Phil Spencer, you get your mosh pit of happiness out of here. This is, it's kind of like the dad coming down on the hippie son. It's just like, no, you're gonna wear a suit and a tie. God damn it, this is what it's all about, and it's not about being complacent. So, Steve, Jim said some dumb things about crossplay in the years. Seems like he's finally come around. What are your thoughts on this news?
I love that quote. I love that he's sort of saying, we recognize the fact that just because we're on top now doesn't mean we can sit on our asses and be on top next gen. We've got to get with the program. Yeah. And cross-play is part of the program. Like, cross-platform play is part of the program. It's been so frustrating. I'm a huge Rocket League fan, and it was a huge deal for me finally to be able to play with my boy on PC and finally, have that cross-play functionality that's been, baked into Xbox for ages, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're finally coming around on this. I don't think it's going to hurt them. I don't know why they hesitated so long. I know there was a concern that we don't want people, buying DLC on other platforms and being able to play with people on our platforms because we don't get a cut of that. This is the new world. Everybody's got the console they've got. You're not going to draw them over to PS4 by forcing them to give up a certain game. You're just going to alienate them. So this is a great way to kind of, we will embrace cross-platform play. We're going to give, Activision $100 billion to keep exclusive Call of Duty content on our platform anyway. So, we don't care. You play with Xbox players, whatever. That's your choice. It's a good move. I think it's a good move. I think it's a good attitude. I am like you. I'm kind of surprised they are not making a bigger deal of it, but maybe that's just like they kind of want to keep it on the DL and not really make a deal of the fact that it's kind of taken this long to get there. Or maybe they're still secretly not really wanting to do this and they don't really want to admit that they have to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What say you, Kyle?
Yeah, I think this is good. Definitely is confusing why we're getting all this stuff so quickly after the state of play. Also, it's really weird timing with Shawn leaving.
Yeah.
That now we get two really big PlayStation centric type of services.
It's cool
that it's cool that it's actually happening, and they've acknowledged it. And I agree. I like what Jim's saying there. Like, we don't want to again go back to PS3 era. We want to kill it. We want to stay on top. We want to give people what they want.
I think they don't want to do it, and that's why they're not making a huge deal. I think it's by the game developers saying, hey, our game's going to be cross-play enabled, is going to be a selling point for that game going forward. A big huge shout out for Fortnite, right? And them really getting it on their asses. Yeah, like a game being so big that it's unavoidable. And then a game like Rocket League where the dev said, oh yeah, it's like flipping a switch. Now, is that actually the case? Seems like it's not actually the case, but like that was the Brexit bus that got people on board going, you know what? It is like flipping the switch and getting Sony off their ass. So yeah, I love this. I love playing Apex. I hate that I'm playing it on Xbox. Not because I hate Xbox. Again, our show is all about we love all the consoles. We just love our PlayStation more. I love my PlayStation more. I prefer the controller, prefer the ecosystem. And so, like, I want to play on my PlayStation, but I can't because of my Xbox friends. They don't know any better after I said all that stuff. But, like, that's what I want to do. I want to play on my platform of choice with the game that I choose. And just because we bought Call of Duty, but we played it on, different platforms shouldn't mean that we're segregated by the console we bought. It's stupid. Right. Bought the same game. So it's awesome that Jim Ryan wants to do this. Seeing the big two being Google and Microsoft being so open about cross saves and cross progression and cross play. It's awesome that Sony's like, okay, so shit's going down. We don't want to Xbox One launch this shit going into the next gen. We got to be smart. Let's fix this boat now before we head out into the open ocean. And I really, really love that line. That's what gives me faith. You know, Jim Ryan said 2 years ago, oh, we want to do it to protect the kids. You know, we don't want to do it to protect the kids. That's what any politician or business person says when they have to do anything. So it's always for the kids. So, like, yeah, I understand people are pulling his quotes and, you know, certain camera angles when mentioning Jim Ryan. But, like, this is an awesome quote. This is an awesome move by Sony. I'm all on board. But, oh, Kyle, I got a question for you. And Steve, are you holding on to something right now?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do the voice, and I'm sick. I'm sorry.
I'm ready.
All right. Prepare the drop. Each and every week, PlayStation drops the latest and greatest in all things games onto the PlayStation storefront. The only problem is that there are way too many awesome games to list off. So instead, each host picks a game of their choosing and why you ought to play it this week.
Now, you might have seen on the audio version, I kind of like Hillary Clinton the air. I did like this little thing with my hands. I tried to catch a gnat because it got in my face. All right? I just say it. I'm sorry.
I'd much prefer the gnat.
My pick this week, I'm not doing the voice anymore. People hate it. Joe's pick. That's me. Ready, Set, Heroes. Go from zero to hero in this fast-paced multiplayer dungeon crawler meets epic arena brawl. Choose your character, then race through random dungeons to slay monsters, dodge traps, and collect tons of loot to power up. Whoever reaches the end of the dungeon first triggers a victorious winner-take-all arena brawl. This is dope. This is a PlayStation game. It's also on the Epic Store. It's awesome. Crossplay enabled. It looks awesome. It's in a weird place to land, and I don't know if it's going to get the love. But
this was on one of the first state of plays, right?
I think it was the first state of play, yeah. Kyle, what was your pick?
My pick is A Whole New World. That's whole without the W, H-O-L-E. The Vita lives because it's for the Vita. The city is being invaded by monsters from the upside down world. You, the potion master, must defeat evil all alone with no tutorials or easy mode to assist you. You'll have to rely on the help of Fae, your companion fairy, and your potions. Defeat gigantic bosses and acquire their powers. Strictly pick this just because it's a Vita game. Gotta show it love.
And Steve,
you're still making Vita games for real? Is this
dude,
real?
I know. I keep telling him week after week, it's dead. Give it a break. And he's just like, nope.
Is it dead? Does it look dead to you?
Ask Sean Capri about his Vita. It's dead. It's dead. It died. I
honestly didn't know they were still releasing.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's why I picked it.
Hope all 12 of you enjoy it.
12? You're being too generous. Steve, your pick is a little different this week.
Well, you guys said, because I'm like a guest,
yeah.
I been next week. Is that right? Can I still do this? Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it. You cut out a little bit, but that's fine. Go for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, what I'm looking at is Concrete Genie coming out next week.
Yeah.
I had a chance to play through a big chunk of it at E3 last year, E3 2018, and I just fell in love with it. Like, it's a beautiful game. It's about a kid who's bullied and how he copes with this by interacting with these sort of magical graffiti painting things. So it's got some platforming, it's got some puzzle solving, it's got stealthy enemy avoidance, and it's I'm a sucker for an indie game that's trying something new.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for an indie game that's got a real heartfelt message behind it, which this really seems to have. So yeah, I'm stoked. I just actually got my review.
Oh, that's awesome!
Just like yesterday, haven't had a chance to fire it out, but if this show ever ends, I will be hopping on my PS4 to start playing Concrete Genie.
Well, let's end it with our last segment called Andy's No, I'm not going to steal Andrew House's snail mail. No, not going to do it. See, usually, Steve, I break into Andrew House's house every week. I steal his mail, sometimes a vase, sometimes I fake to be Andy himself. I make the kids call me dad. It's weird. It's a real power move. But still, I'm not going to do that this week. Instead, you know what? Shawn would never lie to me, Layden. He broke my heart. He lied to me. He said he was never leaving. So I broke into his house this time. See how he likes it. A little burglarize. And I took his mail. And only one piece of mail. Only one. And this comes from the Game Baron. He writes in, Naughty Dog has planned for the... What does Naughty Dog have planned for their canceled Last of Us multiplayer? All new IP based around similar gameplay mechanics, an add-on at a later date, separate multiplayer games set in the Last of Us world, sold separately, ? What becomes of the Last of Us multiplayer? Now, Naughty Dog's come out, they're saying that they're holding it off for a later date because this game is so big. So my question here, kind of working around Game Baron, is this going to be a DLC sold separately, or is this going to be included? What do you think, Steve?
I know this Game Baron guy. He's apparently likes cats a lot. I don't know why. Yeah, I actually think. Actually, Bruce Straley, who was formerly a director at Naughty Dog, has been tweeting this week. It's kind of funny because he threw out kind of a cheeky tweet about how Naughty Dog was trying to lure him back to finish the multiplayer. People got all upset because they're talking about canceling the multiplayer. Straley says he's actually seen what they're doing with multiplayer, and he says it's super ambitious. We're gonna love it when we see it. I think what they're gonna do is kind of the same thing that they're doing with the single player. They're gonna take Factions, which was far and away one of my favorite multiplayer experiences on the PS3.
For sure.
I loved Factions. Like, it's just a whole different, slower, stealthier, more deliberate kind of multiplayer. I love it. Me and the Game Baron, and used to play it all the time. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to expand it, Factions, maybe add some new modes. I think the popularity of Factions might have caught them a little bit by still people playing it today.
Yeah.
And I think they said, holy shit, we got this actually kind of cool, unique multiplayer component. We got to do this for The Last of Us Part 2, but then the single player thing grew out of control. They've got to, they locked in this release date. So I think what we're going to end up seeing is it'll be a free add-on for anybody who's bought the game.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to go like the Uncharted 3 route and make it a standalone thing you can just play. Maybe later on, like they did with Uncharted.
Yeah.
Is release it as an add-on for anybody who owns The Last of Us Part 2. I hope that's what they do.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm
dying
thinking
to play
too.
The game, but I'm dying to play The Last of Us story. But I'm also, once I'm done Ellie's story, and I'm kind of glad, actually, to be honest, I'm glad they're not coming out at the same moment, because I want to focus on Ellie's story. I want to focus on this insane experience they've developed and not be distracted by, oh shit, man, I got to get in Factions. I got to start leveling up. I got to start
feeding my community and shit.
I got to get some cans of food, or, Bill's going to die. I'm okay with leaving that until later on and focusing on that at a later date, if that's what Naughty Dog needs to make it amazing.
Dude, just the same here. Just take your time. I think this is definitely going to be something introduced with the PlayStation 5. I really do feel like it's that.
That's more than a year away, though. You think?
I think so. Or maybe in the summer months when things have kind of died down. One of the two. I think this is definitely something that they want to take their time with. This is a baby to them. So I think they want to make sure that it is the best looking baby they possibly ever can make. Kyle, what do you think before we head on out her?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think it's going to be something down the line. Definitely just making it even better than what it was before. And it, like you said, Steve, like I'm a single player person. That is my main gaming forte. But Factions kind of hooked me for a little bit because of how different it was. So I'm excited to see what they add to it. How do they refine it and still keep that uniqueness about it. And if that means not try to shoehorn it into this already huge game that's on 2 discs and the biggest game that Naughty Dog's ever made, I'm totally okay with that.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to make it part of PlayStation Now. And with that, that has been the Trophy Room this week. But before we head on out, Kyle, what would you like to plug for us, sir?
Well, before I go all Ellie and find and kill every last cricket, you can find me at WhoDatNinja73 on Twitter. My show all about the kind of funny community called Best Friends Talk Funny at BFS Talk Funny on Twitter as well. Listen to wherever you listen to podcast services. My kind of NYC podcast where we just talk about nerdy things is at $Pod. But before we go, I said earlier, tomorrow's New York Comic Con. If you're there, you see me, come say hi. But more importantly, PlayStation is there. And I will be able, or hopefully be able to play Avengers and Iron Man VR. So that is my goal tomorrow. So next week on the show, I hopefully will be able to talk about those two major games that we're both looking very, very forward to.
Get on that line ASAP, my man.
Oh, it's not a line. It's all through the PlayStation Experience app. So you book a time. You just got to make sure you're there.
You gotta fight. You gotta fight all those nerds. And with that,
I'm ready.
Steve, what would you like to pimp out before you leave?
You know, if I'm doing anything of value, which it's at Steve Tilley, and you better spell Tilley with an EY at the end, otherwise I will never speak to you. So at Steve Tilley is where you can find me, and if anything interesting, it's on there. But usually I'm not, so don't.
I love it, Steve. I love it. With that, you can follow the show here at Bad Big Games on YouTube. Please give us a subscribe, a like, a share. We're growing like crazy. I love it. Thank you all for all your support. Remember, go over there each and every Thursday. It's there, the video version. You can find this show, though, on all podcast services around the globe, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Wherever there's an RSS feed, you can find us there. And so with all that said, and with all that out of the way, everybody keep your wits about you. I almost said have a nice one. No, keep hunting and keep playing PlayStation. I confused the ending. Have a nice one. Bye.